All right, welcome. Today we're diving into something really fascinating. It's a framework that looks at the Qur'an not as just a collection of stories, but as one single, incredibly interconnected system. We're going to try and crack the code.
So the whole idea is built around this central metaphor of a divine chainmail. Just picture it. Every event, every single prophet is a perfectly interlocked ring. Nothing stands alone. It's all part of one seamless, divinely engineered structure.
But that makes you wonder, right? If it's a system, there has to be a rule, some kind of invariant law that governs how it all works. So what is the code that connects all these stories? What's the operating system that makes the whole machine run?
And here it is. This is the master key that our source proposes, a 5-step cycle that just repeats flawlessly. It starts with a request. That request then leads to what looks like a loss. That's followed by a period of containment where transformation happens. Then comes the restoration, but to a higher state. And finally, completion, which reinforces the whole system.
Okay, so let's see this law in action. We're going to start with the very first ring in the chain, the story of Ibrāhīm. This is where the core mechanics for the entire system get established. It all kicks off with a simple request, a prayer for a son, and that leads to the famous test of sacrifice. But here's the critical insight, the real game changer. The system doesn't operate on destruction. The son is ransomed. He's substituted. This establishes a fundamental principle, transfer. What looks like a devastating loss is actually just a transfer of state. And out of this one event, you get the two core forces that power the entire system. First, there's fire. The trial that was supposed to destroy Ibrāhīm instead becomes a tool for transport and safety. And second, you have iron, the symbol of the unbreakable divine structure that governs everything.
Now, the crucial thing to get is, this wasn't some one-off event. We see this exact pattern of loss repeating again and again, across different figures. And it's always a necessary part of the cycle.
I mean, just look at the examples. Yūsuf is lost to a pit because of jealousy. Yūnus gets swallowed by a fish after making an assumption. Nuh loses his son to the flood. Each one of these is a form of separation, right? A necessary break that actually triggers the next phase of the process.
So this just flips our whole idea of loss on its head. It's not a failure. It's not an ending. It's actually a necessary transition, a phase shift. It's how you enter a hidden state where the real transformation can happen, totally safe from any outside distortion.
So where does this transformation actually happen? Well, the source calls them containment fields, or, my favorite, cave states. This is step 3 of the law we talked about.
And it's amazing when you see it laid out like this. Each figure enters a controlled, totally isolated environment. For Yūsuf, it's a pit, then a house, then a prison. For Yūnus, it's the belly of a fish. For Nuh, it's the ark. Each place is like its own sealed-off world. You see, the system uses these cave states to protect the subject from all the outside noise. It's like a spiritual clean room, where they can undergo this profound internal change and realign with the core principles of the system without any interference.
So the million-dollar question, how do they get out? And the trigger is always the same. It's a moment of pure remembrance, of calling out to the divine. This act of Dhikr basically recalibrates their internal state, it realigns them with the system, and that's what unlocks the exit.
Okay, so after containment comes the emergence. And here's the thing. What comes out is never the same as what went in. And that brings us to step 4, restoration.
And this part is just incredible. Yūsuf doesn't just, get parole. He walks out of prison with the authority to rule a nation. The Queen of Sheba, Bilqis, doesn't just meet a prophet. She goes from being a sovereign queen to a follower of a higher truth. They are always restored to a higher, more integrated state.
So what this really shows us is that every apparent break in the chain is actually a mechanism to forge a stronger link. The whole loss and containment phase, it's like a tempering process in a forge, It makes each ring tougher and more resilient than it was before. Okay, so we've seen the 5-step cycle in action. Now let's zoom way out. Because the source argues this isn't just a pattern in a story. It's actually a reflection of the underlying physics of reality itself. A kind of cosmic geometry. The source proposes that reality is basically an interaction between two fundamental fields. Think of it this way. You've got a light field, that's the source of absolute timeless truth and command. And then you have a sound field, that's the realm of flowing time, change, and mercy. Every single event is an interplay between these two forces. And here's where it gets really wild.
The geometry of how these two fields interact isn't a straight line. It's a Mobius strip, that continuous loop with a single twist. And that shape is perfect for capturing a system with two interconnected paths on one single, unbroken surface.
This loop contains two totally distinct pathways. The top loop represents ascent, moving up through purification and submission. The bottom loop represents descent, spiraling down through corruption and refusal. Two paths, two choices, all happening within a single unbroken system.
So let's bring it all together. Here it is, the complete repeating law, the master algorithm, if you will, that forms this whole Mobius chainmail.
And this table just lays the entire system out in one view. Notice how the same 5 functions, initiation, phase shift, isolation, elevation, and integrity, they just repeat flawlessly, whether you're talking about Yūsuf in the pit or Nuh on the ark. It's the same repeating code. It's the DNA of the entire system.
This reveals the Qur'an as this dynamic, self-reinforcing circuit. The fire that tested Ibrāhīm, the water that carried Nuh, the prison that contained Yūsuf. They're not just random elements of different stories. They are interlocking functions inside one unified operating system. And this is why seeing it this way really matters. It presents a system where nothing is ever truly lost. Instead, every single element is transferred, processed, and transformed. Every loss is designed to refine, and every return is engineered to strengthen the chain, just endlessly cycling until it all resolves.